Hello and welcome back to another video in our Pet Sematary series. If this is the first one you're coming across, we are doing a full book to movie adaptation series around the new Pet Sematary movie. We did a reading vlog and a book review for the book, which we will link down in the description, up in the cards, all those good things. But we are now here to talk about the original movie, which is an 18? It's not that old. 1989 Pet Sematary, and we are doing a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen it, no worries, but we're here to discuss.
As well, if this is your first time into this series, we are doing a giveaway as part of this series. You will get a hardcover copy of Pet Sematary. We're keeping one of these, but we are giving one away to you guys. And that is free to you guys. It is US only. All you have to do is go into the description, click it, and there are some different things you can do to get multiple entries in there. And if you win, we will send you a new copy. It's in really good condition.
It is new. We bought these new, but we have read through them, so they have been touched by our hands. They have been opened and read through once. They're pretty much new.
Coffee stain.
No,
I'm just kidding.
None of that. They're in perfect condition. So this movie follows a family of four, a married couple and their two children who move to, is it Maine? Maine, because all Stephen King things are set in Maine. I wanted to say Maryland. It's Maine. They move to Maine for the husband's job. He is becoming a doctor at the local university. And they move into a house that happens to be on a road where a lot of large semi-trucks and things like that from a nearby plant go by. And they also have a pet cemetery in their backyard, and spooks ensue.
Yeah, so this is a spoiler-free review. We're not going to ruin the movie, especially because I feel like between the book, this film, and the following film, a lot of the details will be similar. So I feel like if you spoil one of them, you will spoil all of them. So we're going to try not to do that for you. But let's talk about the plot a little bit. I felt like this book-to-movie adaptation was actually very true to the book.
So we were told going into this that this movie is god-awful and terrible and not enjoyable at all. And I disagree.
I was actually impressed with how, beat for beat, they followed that story from the novel and hit a lot of the important scenes, and I felt like the ones that they did leave out, I can't think of any that they really left out that were important.
Well, I think a big reason for that is the fact that Stephen King did write the screenplay for this, and I think that you can sometimes run into trouble with movies when the author writes the screenplay. I think sometimes they're a little too invested and they might not adequately adapt it for an on-screen version. However, if you have watched our book review or reading vlog, you know that we said this book automatically feels cinematic. The way it's written, the beats that it has, just the way the scenes are written is very cinematic. So I think that having him write the screenplay for this was actually one of those cases where it's probably beneficial that the author did, although I am glad that he did not write the screenplay for the new one. I think it was time for some fresh takes, and they are making some changes to the new one because of that. But it was very, very true to book, probably because he wrote the screenplay. Something we mentioned in our book reviews of this is that the middle section of the book is actually a bit slower paced than the rest of the book, and it kind of just slows you down quite a bit, drags you down in the story a little bit too much. I do think that carries into this movie, but because it's a 2-hour movie versus however many hours you spend reading a book, it doesn't feel quite so drawn out. It's a lot shorter. We cut from scene to scene a lot quicker instead of sitting in them, which I think has pluses and minuses because I like the opportunity to sit in scenes and really feel them. I feel like a lot of the emotional parts of this movie you went through very quickly, like too quickly, especially in the middle part where there's a lot of very intense emotions happening.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the pacing could use some work, and I think a big chunk of that, where it feels like it struggles, for me at least, is the weakest part of this film is the character performances. The acting in this movie
It's not good.
is kind of a struggle.
But I almost feel like it's accurate to the characters. But it's an 80s movie, I don't think it had a lot of budget behind it. What were we talking about with other movies that came out around this time because I'm sitting there being like, oh, well, this movie's not bad for its time, and Steven's naming off all these other movies that came out.
I'm like, Terminator 2 came out the same year.
Yeah, so I'm like, all right, you have a point. So the performances were not the strongest. It felt a little I don't know if it's over-directed, overacted, or under-directed. There was something missing.
Yeah, I think some characters did a pretty good job, and I think the performances were solid for the characters, and then other ones really struggled. I think the actor who played Lewis was like really bad.
But Lewis is always also kind of bland character.
Yeah,
so
he's kind of bland. It kind of works. I think ultimately this feels kind of like TV movie quality. It feels kind of campy sci-fi. So like so because of that, their performances, like even if they're bad, kind of work in its favor.
We have a classic scene where like somebody falls to the ground and yells no at the sky with a shot from above, which is kind of funny. It's like the most funny scene in the book, in my opinion. I also want to talk about some changes they made to the book, which I'm not going to discuss spoilers about it, but there is a character who is an important character, but not in a lot of scenes in the book, and that character is Pascal. If you've read the book, you know who I'm talking about, or if you've seen the original movie. And in the book, like I said, he's got like one or two small like moments. They're impactful, they're important for the plot, but not shown up a lot. In this movie, they insert him in a lot more scenes, and he almost acts as a like comedic relief, and I loved it so much. He was the highlight of this movie for me.
I would definitely say that is the strongest change in this film. His character alone, I feel like, ramps this up like another like rating. Like whatever grade I was gonna give it, his presence allowed me to enjoy it a little more and kind of made it a little more tongue-in-cheek when there's some of the goofy things happening.
While I was doing some research into this film after we watched it, I found out that this is directed by a woman, Mary Lambert, and fun fact about this director, which has nothing to do with the movie, but I find fascinating, is that she directed some of the most iconic music videos in like the 80s and 90s. She directed multiple Madonnas, multiple Janet Jacksons, a Sting, a couple others, but like a Prayer and Like a Virgin, done by Mary Lambert. Like, how random and cool is that?
One thing that really surprised me about this, and I think both of us, was actually how dark certain parts of this. It was definitely gruesome, and there was some body horror and gore throughout that surprised me.
Yes.
It was surprisingly like true to the novel and violent. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, if you've read this book, you know that the ending is known to be very, very dark and goes there, and the movie does too. And I really appreciate that. I really liked the gumption they took with it at the end, and they didn't hold back with a lot of the gruesome things that happen in the finale. Like Steven said earlier, we do have mixtures of tone in this. We have some humor, we have some campiness, and we have some truly horrific, dark moments. And I think that combined with the lack of good acting, the campiness combined with the lack of good acting, I think is what turns a lot of people off on this movie. I personally found it pretty enjoyable. As people who went through the whole It book to movie adaptation series last year, or 2 years ago, was that 2017?
Yeah.
2017. I found the original It to be a lot less enjoyable than this. Don't fight me in the comments. So I was surprised by that, and I think that I just really liked the tonal differences in it. I think they worked well together, but that may not be everybody's opinion.
So we thought this movie surprisingly held up and was enjoyable, but we are also interested to know what you guys have thought about this movie if you have seen it. So please let us know in the comments down below what you think about this older movie, if you love it, if you hate it, and how you think the new one's going to stack up compared to this adaptation. And make sure you sign up for that giveaway so you guys don't miss out on your opportunity to win a brand new copy of a good hardcover book. And make sure you like this video and subscribe so you don't miss out on any videos in this series. And we have a lot more series coming your way. And we'll see you guys next time.